Hey everyone and welcome back. It's Julianne here, back with another card making video. Today I'm going to be sharing a Valentine's Day card featuring some Honeybee Stamps products. The stamps I'm going to be using are Warm Wishes, the new Heart Sentiment stamp set, as well as the coordinating honey cuts, and the new Fluttering Hearts background stencil. I started out today by stamping the fox and Warm Wishes onto some Express It blending cardstock. This is personally my favorite cardstock when it comes to my Copic coloring, and I highly recommend it. As you can tell, I stamped the fox image twice here. I like doing this when it comes to making any card. That way if I mess up on the first image, I already have an image stamped and ready to go. I love this stamp set because it comes with smaller images that you can use to customize the fox's sweater so that the stamp set can really be used at any time of the year. Since I'm going to be making a Valentine's Day card today, I'm going to be masking off my image to stamp the heart that's included in the stamp set and just the center portion of the sweater. Once I have all my stamping complete, I'm going to move on to my Copic coloring. As always, I'll have the marker caps off to the left-hand side of the screen so that you can see what colors I'm using. I'm going to stick to 3 shades for each color combination today. I feel like using 3 color shades really gives me the dimension that I'm looking for. For my card today, I'm really not going to be doing a lot of coloring, so I'm just going to put on some music and I'll be right back. Once I've completed all of my Copic coloring, I'm going to start working on my background. The Fluttering Heart stencil has two separate stencils included in the set. For my card today, I'm going to be using the stencil that has the larger hearts. I'm going to be doing some ink blending for my card today using some Distress Oxide inks. Since I am creating a Valentine's Day card, the colors I'm going to be using are Worn Lipstick, Abandoned Coral, and Candied Apple. I started out by masking the stencil onto some white cardstock with some of my washi tape. My idea for my card today was that I wanted it to look as though the hearts were coming out from behind my fox in the bottom left-hand side of my card and fluttering up and out from behind her. So in order to achieve that, I masked off only the hearts that I actually wanted to ink. I started out my ink blending going from my lightest shade to my darkest. At the top, I used Warm Lipstick, then moving on to Abandoned Coral, and then finally adding that Candied Apple down at the bottom. I'm going to go back and forth between my three colors, that way I get a smooth blend in those hearts that I'm happy with before I remove my stencil. That's what I love so much about using my Distress Oxide inks for creating backgrounds, is that I can just keep working and playing with them until I get that desired look that I'm going for before moving on. Once I'm finally done with all my ink blending and have removed my stencil, I'm going to cut down my cardstock using my paper trimmer to A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Once I trim down my cardstock, you're going to be able to see what I talked about earlier, with the hearts looking as though they are coming out from behind the bottom left-hand side of my card and fluttering up and out to the right-hand side. Once I have my background cut down to that A2 size, I'm going to start working on the rest of my card. Once I had decided on the layout of my card, I started working on adding in my sentiments. I made this card for a coworker to give his fiance for Valentine's Day, so I decided the "You Have My Heart" sentiment would be the perfect sentiment for this occasion. Here you can see that I'm going to be stamping the "You Have My" part of the sentiment with VersaFine Onyx Black ink onto my blended background. I will be changing how I have this sentiment later on in the video, but wanted to include it so that you could see you could do your sentiment this way if you choose to recreate this card. Off camera, I did die cut the heart sentiment using the coordinating honey cuts from some red glitter cardstock, as well as some of the hearts that are included in that same die set to add as embellishments later on in the video. Using the hexagon edges die from the Pretty Pink Posh Stacked Edges die set, I'm going to be die cutting some craft cardstock. I wanted to add some texture to my background by creating what will look like a border right below my sentiment. To achieve this look, I'm going to adhere both of my die cut edges to my background with liquid adhesive, and using my scissors, I'll just cut off the excess on both sides of my card base. Like I mentioned before, I did end up changing up my sentiment. I felt that my sentiment was just kind of getting lost in my blended background, so I decided to stamp it on another piece of white cardstock and adhere it in that same place, but I added some foam adhesive. Popping up my sentiment not only gives my card some dimension, but it also helps to make sure my sentiment doesn't get lost in my card. You could definitely do the sentiment either way, but for my card today, I preferred to have it raised up. At this point in my card, I felt that I was still missing something, so I decided to add some leaf die cuts that I had left over from another project to add in behind the fox. I had the leaf die cuts in two different shades of green, as well as in some gold glitter cardstock, which I thought added some really nice contrast. After messing around with the placement, I adhered each leaf down with some liquid adhesive. Once I had all of my dies adhered to my card, I'm going to start working on adhering my fox as well as the rest of my sentiment. I'm going to be adhering the fox down with some foam adhesive in the center of those die cuts. To make sure that my die cut sentiment stood out from the craft cardstock, I die cut the sentiment border from some vellum and adhered them together with that same liquid adhesive. Since half of my sentiment was going to be placed on top of my fox, I only used foam adhesive on the part that was going to be directly adhered to the craft cardstock. The section of the sentiment that is on top of my fox, I just used liquid adhesive. To finish off my card today, I adhered those hearts that I die cut earlier from that same red glitter cardstock throughout my card. I wanted to add some detail to my fox, so with a black pen I added some eyelashes as well as some white highlights in her sweater and cheeks. I want to thank you all for stopping by, and I hope you found some Valentine's Day inspiration. And as always, happy crafting. I can't wait to see what you all create.